はい、こんにちは、こんばんは。2023年5月2日に10時スタート。本日からなのかな、ちょっとボリュームがどのくらいになるのかわかりませんが、今回はザ・スタンリー・パラブル・ウルトラ・デラックスを遊んでいきたいと思います。もしかするとね、ご存知の方も多いタイトルかもしれませんが、何年前のゲームなんだろうね。ザ・スタンリー・パラブルっていう、アドベンチャーゲームになるのかな。そのリメイク版が去年あたりにリリースされて、で、この度4月末に日本語化されましたので、遊んでみようかなと、名作と呼ばれているタイトルですね。こんばんはいらっしゃい。ゆっくりしてってください。5連休。今日は仕事休み、ゴールデンウィークですもんね。休みの人も多いかなとは思いますが、はい。ホラーゲーじゃないはず。です。こんばんはいらっしゃい。ハッピーゴールデンウィークね、私もお休みです、今日。では、行きましょうか。どういうタイトルかは遊んでいけばわかるんじゃないのかなと。はい。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid,Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
はい、始まりました。427番のスタンリーが主人公ですと。今これ私パソコン版ですね。家庭用ゲーム機でも5月なのかな、今月なのか来月なのか。日本でもリリースされるみたいですね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
戻れない。個室だけどカメラがあるの？確かに。見られてると思うと嫌だよね。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
鉛筆削りだ。会議室。しかし汚いオフィスだな。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
こういうナレーションがあり、このナレーションに従うのか従わないのかとかね、そういう選択がたくさんあって、 最終的なエンディングはマルチエンディングらしいよということみたいですね。うん。まずは従ってみよう。会議室だ。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
上の階にある上司の部屋。お？お？怖っ。物置。開くんじゃん。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow.
早く行けって。
Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
上の
Coming to a
階。
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
あら。ガラッと。重薬用トイレ。エクストリームバスルーム。そうですね。ナレーション含めなんかいろいろ分岐があるみたいですね。すごい。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number,
天井高っ。
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2845。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
知らないけど入力できちゃう。
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
なんか開いた。お？下って書いてある。嘘でしょ？落ちろって？行きます。これエレベーターじゃないの？あ、これ、そういうことか。真っ暗で何も見えなかった。これ、ボタンか。お。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
おお。さらに下に行けたり。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
エスケープ。どっち行けってこっち行くんだろうな。はあ。閉じ込められた。ボタンかな？
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
ディスプレイだらけ。監視カメラのボタンだ。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the
は
number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
427番？あれだ、あそこだ。ところどころファイヤードってクビになった人がマインドコントロールクビってどういうことなんだ？ホラーじゃないけどホラーっぽい感じね、しますね。ただやっぱり人はいないね。人の影はあれなんだ、230。234番が抜け番になってる。首とはまた違う。何これ？人？
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
44番もなんか変だな。44の隣だ。グラフみたいになってる。28。こういうのもなんか隠されてそうだよね。
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
解体。マインドコントロールステータスオフライン。確かに喋ってる人誰なんでしょうね。ある程度大きなモニターでゲームしないとよくわかりにくい。さっきの場所ね。 ファシリティパワー。あ、電源のボタンでもない。暗いかな？見えてますかね？5、5、5、3、1、2、3、4か、あと。4。ん ?3、4。コンソールディセイブル。4はないね。あれだ。あれいけないかこれ。暗くてわかんない。いけない。上になんかボタンある。あれ多分4だ。とりあえず、まっすぐ進もうか。0142って書いてあるよ。0001。フラッシュライト欲しいな。設備電源。マインドコントロールアイドル制御。入力待ち。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
オフだよね。オフ。おー。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way was happy.
あれこんばんはいらっしゃい。でも無職になっちゃうね。あれでもまた戻ってきたよ。スーパーチャットありがとうございます。もう一回やり直し
All of his co-workers were gone. What did it mean?
一回クリアしたっぽい
Stanley
な
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
めっちゃ嬉しいです。実況ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。ね、一つのエンディングだったっぽいよ。ちょっと待って、じゃあ、ちょっと一旦オフした場合オフじゃない。オンにした場合どうなるか見ようか。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming
そっか、
to a
ここ上下もあるんだ
Stanley
な。
walked upstairs to his boss's office.
なんだっけ ?2485。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845.
惜しかった。
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
ナレーションにしたかったら20分でクリア。とっても美しいですね。オリジナルをご存知なんですかね、もしかするとね。うん、リメイクされていて、グラフィックはね、全然。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
エスケ
Control
ープもあるな。
Facility.
こんばんはいらっしゃい。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where
一回終わりました。
nothing.
多分一番オーソドックスなエンディングを今、エンディングというか、一周が終わったのかな。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart
で、
of
こ
the
こだね。ここのこの番号だよな。
emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
4番が押せない。よし。さあ、さっきオフをしたけど、
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted?
Whoa.
Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is.
ね、ナレーションじゃなくてもリアルタイムで会話してる感じだよね。どうすれば
You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
いける。4いける。
I'll tell you exactly what happened.
1
I erased them.
関係ない
I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though.
1って書いてある
This
な
version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it
どういうこと
But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness.
いや、そう。
But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it.
順番に押すか。いや、間に合うかこれもう。
Extra time on the
1
clock. Why not?
2
These are precious
違うのか
additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley?
どういうこと
Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of
何かで止められると思ってるよ。
Look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered
どこだ番号正解の番号
ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save
順番に押すよじゃあも
Why would you think
う
that,
いいの
Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless, to see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No
ダメだ
just
ダメだ
blown to pieces. Will you claim
427って書いてある427
or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me,
もうダメかもしれないいつから427になってた今
moment we fade in until the moment I say happily
7? え7なんてないって427って私の部屋番号じゃ
What
ん
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もう一回あそこまで行かなきゃいけないの
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
なんかありました今。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Oh no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, 開いた。さっき開かなかったのに。なんちゅう絵画だ。
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy. So he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
これ開けてよ。開けてって。
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
どっかに番号ないもんな。これでちょっとダメだったら他のルートを行ってみよう。金庫なんてありました？
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ah, 重役部屋のナンバーキーね。
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
いやー。焦らず注意深く見てみよう。焦らず？無理無理だな。
And when at last he found the source of the room's... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it.
Charge!
Mere moments until the bomb goes
これ
off.
コードつながって
What
る。
precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me.
4、4、4、4、4、4、4、4、4、4。
What all this means.
4だ。さっき1だったのに4だ。
Where to start? What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what
4
happened.
押したって。
I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever.
4押したよ。
buttons
4
endlessly
押
and
し
then
た
die
けど
alone.
まだ4。
Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know
なんか
what?
ボタン押せるこれ。
I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh, dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no,
黄色の
these colored ones.
4色のボタン。4のボタン。ああ。
Everything, anything,
なるほ
something
ど。
here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? But you really believe there's an answer? How many times will you replay this bit, looking desperately for a solution? 10? 100? 1,000? I look forward to finding out and to watching the bomb go off each time you fail. Just you and me in the retching explosion of fire and metal over and over and over for all of eternity. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
むずっ。なんだったんだ？よし。ちょっと一旦ここで待機したらなんかあんのかな？出ない。部屋から出ない。なんだろうな、今の。1回目はディスプレイに表示されてたのは赤い1のボタンで、2回目は黄色い4のボタンだったんだよな。何か関係があるのか。で、あの場所には数字のボタンしかないのかなと思ったけど、よく見たらあれランプだと思ってた黄色とか赤とか青も、あれもボタンとして押せてたから、めちゃめちゃたくさんボタンがあったね。黄色のボタンを4回押す。4回は押しましたね。4個は押さなかったから、4個っていう可能性はあったのかな。うん。あれ、なんも会話してこないな。いいのか、ここにいて。グラドス感。あ、ポータルのね。はいはいはいはいはい。確かに。何も起きないね。出るか？これ何？よし。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
ちょっと他のパターン試してみましょう。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. おじさんの正体がわかるエンディングね。あったらいいですね、それね。一回部屋出るとなんか入れないっぽいけどな。バタンって閉められちゃってる。うん。いや、悔しいね。ちょっとある程度遊んで。When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
うん、左行けって言ってるから今回逆行ってみようか。うん。まあそうね、今日は普通にやって、もし次回があるならなんか攻略サイトとか見ながらやってみるのもいいかもね。うん。まあ、今日は私なりに遊んでいこう。
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. really worth it.
先に進めって言わないね。
At this point, but at last he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
ほう、左側を選びました。じゃあまっすぐ。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
こんばんは。指示に従わない。警告、カーゴリフト作動中は飛び出さないでください。死亡の原因となります。カーゴリフトを使用し、誤用かな？誤用した場合の罰金。カーゴリフトから飛び降りた場合の罰金。上は1000ドルで、下は5000ドル。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
終わった。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
そりゃそうだよ。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
うわ、そっち気になるな。
Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
ここは？
Please. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
何？
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that?
ゲームクリエイターか、こ
And
れ。
in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see.
ナレ
Help
ー
me
ター
here,
は。
Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
この辺は多分テクスチャが貼られてないのかな。シーリングライトって書いてあるね。うん。ここには本当はこれが貼られる。このグラフィックが貼られる予定だったんだろうね。じゃあ、今の流れでいくとこの作りかけの場所行くのかい？
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
はあ。点数つけろと。普通。
Oh, of course. 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful.
イラッとする
Here,
な。
based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
おうスタンリー・パラブルワールドワイドリーダーズボード。タイムアタックしてる。私は ?This is you. 7時間も遊んでないよ。行くかじゃあ。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors?
私、
Again,
リーダーボード
honest
嫌い。
answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
早い早い早い早い早い早い。音うるさい。赤ちゃんこっち見ないで。
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stan?
嘘、すごいね。再現してるね、すごい。
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
なんだっけファイヤー。これ、このマーク、このマーク。このゲーム、私も配信、動画で失礼。プレイしたけど、そうだ、ファイヤーウォッチ。ファイヤーウォッチ感、ありあり。なんだ、やればできるじゃん。始まりました、ファイヤーウォッチ。行ってみよ
う。Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a
危なかっ
close
たあ、
call.
本当
He
に
wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path.
いや、わからんでもないけど。
in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
オープンワールドディスんないで。
Something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
え
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind.
いやいやいやいや。もう思いっきり書いたじゃん、ロケットリーグって。
possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
いいのこれ。ロゴ思いっきり使ってんじゃん。
Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
まさかこのフィールドを徒歩で歩くとは思わなかった。どっち私何色？全然ロケットついてないけど大丈夫これ。
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another
これ
ball.
ゴールしたらあの演出出んのかな？ボール何個出んの？お前いいや。
Yes. Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
何にもゴールしても何の演出も出ない。
Are you enjoying this, Stanley?
楽しくないな
Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope
ロ
you're
ケ
having
ットリーグはめっちゃ楽しいの
fun.
に。
It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much, but who knows? You're an inventive kid, you'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley. Hold on, what are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. We still have so much.
あ、どっか行ったな。暗い。暗いな。あっ、423?427 近づいてない？ね、作りかけ。だいぶ風化してる感もある。あ、427。うん？ここで作ってたの？何もできんの？あれ、こっちこんな明るかったっけ？あ、
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
終わりかな？なるほどね。この声は開発者だったのか。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
さてどうしよっかな。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
まあ、左。どうしよう。右。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business,
ここで
Stanley
左行
took
ってみ
the
ようか。
first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
なんだここ。え
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left. Oh, no. No, it's to
右
the
で
right,
し
my
た。
mistake.
すいません、右でした。
No,
右じゃない。
not the right.
じゃあこっち。
Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes.
OK?
I've
う
got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
ん。うわ、こっちか。あれ
No, 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 no. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet.
こ
This is
こあ
all a
ったな。
spoiler.
下から見たときあった。
Close your
目、
eyes.
うん、あ。
Okay,
ん
okay,
はいはいはい。
okay.
うん。
We just have to get back to,
うん、お、お。
Who am I kidding?
うん
It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
え
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply
こんばんはい
missed
らっ
the
し
memo.
ゃい。ずるいってそれは。
When Stanley...
あれ
Wait, what?
お
No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors?
何もしてない
Did you
よ。
move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here
なんかあん
somewhere.
の
Okay,
Huh?
then. It's an adventure.
Huh?
Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
うんうんうんどこ行ったストーリー
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
あれなんか書いてあったな、今。どうなっ、え
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
なくなってるけど、扉。
Okay, yep, it's worse.
うん
I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
開いた。I hate Monday 私もそう。
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story.
来た来た。あれこれどこ？ん？
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
あれ？来たな。
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Yatta!
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
あ、なんか書いてあ
All
る。
right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
ラインが、動線があってもさ、扉がなかったら、右？このルートはないね、今まで。よく考えるよな、こういう
You
の。
see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of
無理それ。
existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
ああ、いいね。なんか前進もう的になるよ、これ。
Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in our story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
こっちか。あ違う違う違う違う違う。そっちダメだってだから。戻ってきてる。あれ結局か。
Oh, no, 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 not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
えまだやんのこれ。あ、えな、ん
You know what, Stanley?
Huh?
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious.
死だわ。
This all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild.
ぐるぐる回ってま
Use
す。
your imagination.
ぐるぐる回ってま
Whatever it might be,
す。
Stanley, I'm
あれ
ready for it. Oh no, not you again.
もう
Stanley,
誰と戦
I'd
ってんの
also like
私
to
は。
veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
お消えた。
Ah, a choice.
お
We get
いい
to
ね。
make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse
逆の
door's
反
origin.
対の
So
裏
starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going?
それ聞かれても
The
な。
answer is clearly yes. Then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
開かない。混乱。混乱エンドの。
What's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one
ジ
giant
ャイアン
ending?
トエンド
And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey. though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we?
こ
Eventually.
のさ、漆
Well,
黒
in the meantime,
漆黒の闇をさまよって、漆黒の闇をさまよってたどり着いたのが本屋ってどういうことなんだろ
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing?
う。投げやり。もう最初のルートには戻れなさそうだな。ある？あるな。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
なんか変な音になってね。何この音。燃えてる？
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
通常ルート
just
戻
to
ったから。
admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And
左
so
行
he
って、
detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
ああ、戻っちゃうのか。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might
閉
find
められ
an
てる
answer
物
there.
置が。下行く
Coming
か
to a。staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job.
奥さんいたんだ。
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal.
長い
I
な。
am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
おさっきのとこだ。
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
いやいやいや。めでたしめでたしじゃないよ。
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
ね、ちょっとホラーなエンドでしたね。え？新コンテンツ。本当ですか？本当にいいんですか？ねえ。行きますよ。
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
誰が言ってんのよ。
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle?
ちょっと待って。えあ、ここじゃないとジャンプできないのしかも回数制限あるの？回数制限なのかノルマなのか。やったジャンプができるあすいませんジャンプが終わってしまう。新コンテンツ終わりました。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Eh? 懐かしの。扉を出た最初の場所がもうこんなになってしまった。
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
そうそう、新コンテンツはジャンプですよってことですね。うん。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
すごい。
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
オフィスはどこ行ったの？The Memory Zone.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
これどう回っていけばいいんだ？忘れるな。ああ、2013年。スターニー・パラブルがリリースされたとき。2013。すごい美化してるな、なんか。オリジナルリメイク。そっか、10年前か。いい時代。解雇中。ハッピーエンドでにっこり。長いよ、ハッピーエンドが。あんのかな？思い出をたどる旅。そして1ドル紙幣。ああ、これ実績だ。スチームの。Don't play for 5 years. そんな実績あんの？ 5 年遊ぶなっていう実績があんの？なんか聞いたことあるな、でも。5年起動しなかったらもらえる実績みたいなの。このゲームだったのか。5年だったか。まあ、長いこと遊ばないと取れる実績ね。あれこっちは新作ゲーム本日発売。クリエイターが驚くほど素朴。あ、これガチのやつじゃん。ブリティッシュアカデミーアワードノミネート。デビューゲーム。へえ、そう、2013年いろいろ撮ったんだね、やっぱりね。ゲームイノベーション。 ストーリー。へえ。あ、なんでそれ思い出なの？あ、ハムスター。これを、リトルスタン、リトルスタンリーって書いてある。なんだろうな。これも実はリアルなやつなのかな。お墓っぽいね。なんでこんなセンチメンタルな。どうしたどうした
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
まあ、この扉から始まるよな。パーソン・オブ・ザ・イヤー。へえ。開発画面だ。どういうこと？自転車？
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone.To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
「いけません。ジャンプができない。でさっきの、これ以上茶番はいいぞと。
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
だって通れないもん。あ、ボタンがいっぱいある。上の方にボタン、これ赤いドアと青いドアもある。これ開発ソフトか。この2つ。これテクスチャーか。気になるな、シリアスルーム。が、いけるのはこっちだけ。
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Steam のレビュー。捨てられた Steam のレビューがここにあります。なんで捨てられたんでしょうか。あ、いいねもあるじゃん、これ。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art.
してねえ
I
し。
suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
別に面白くしようとなんてしてねえし、だって。またあるよ。
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
もうやめてあげて。
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot.
私言ってないって。
I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this.
The story and the choices are what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is.
いや、面白いって。面白い、面白い。
We all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story and the choices are what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is. So on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story and the choices are what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is. So on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see, blah, 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 blah.
スキップした。
Oh, you're back. You see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just... Oh, Stanley, you're back.
枯れてる。ちょっとおじいちゃんになった。おじいちゃんになった。あ、2週間？
I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've all... Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you.
1年か。
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past.
?死んでる？時計も止まってる。なんだ？それが鳴ってるね。火災報知器っぽいけど。
But they didn't understand.
Oh,
The game
どうした？
was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned. They screamed. They gnashed their teeth and said, "Entertain us." It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much. They said, first, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency. It's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, "Oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it." And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think, to feel. It must be that they were so discontent with themselves, they couldn't help but leave a negative review on Steam. Perhaps it says far more about them than it ever said about me. Perhaps the state of their psychological being was in such tatters, and my constitution and willpower are so ironclad in comparison. Perhaps it was this state that they sought some outlet through which to tear me down. This, you can see, is clearly why they felt the need to expect that the game be funny, that it be filled with yucks and whimsical humor, that it amuse them endlessly from start to finish. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are The end is never the end, 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 is never the
ああ、なん。お、誰か助けてください。助けてください。あ何があった何があったんだ斜め、おはやったー。すごいスキップしたな。誰かいませんか誰かあ、嘘。帰ってきた。あれ、新コンテン
All
ツ。
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
もうなんか最初に戻ったっぽいぞ。あ れれれれれれ。ニューコンテンツ。いや、もう行くしかないじゃん、それは。
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
ジャンプできます？
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
2!
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
ニューマグ。ニューマグだ。2が赤い。電話は古い。427。終わりは決して終わらない。二度と。ようこそインベスターショーケース。
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
.だいぶおしゃれなオフィス。開発ルームって感じ？ニューコンテンツは、削除して、ニューコンテンツパート2が実装されましたと。帰ってきた2つのドア。あ、シダだ。何が違うのこの上下のシダ。そして左に寄ってるのはなんで？ロゴもいろんなパターンがあるんだね。これかっこいいじゃん。5番。えスタンリー2人いる。
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
ポータル2。2作目が成功してるよと。失敗してるのもあるけどね。大切な投資家の皆様、小フロアはこちらです。おお、新機能。バスだ。あ、シダ2つってことあ、これ座れない、見れないんだ、これ。エキスポホール2。1あった？うわぁ、すごー。
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
誰かQR コードかざしてみてください、あれ。なんかホームページ開くのかな？グッズだって。いやー、右のさ、T シャツわかるけど、左の T シャツもうなんだかわかんないよね。2って書いてあるの。うん。かっこいいな、これ。安心のバケツ？このゲームをプレイしている人の名前を言うボタン。新しい。右から行くか。
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
スタンリーパラブル2のオフィシャルウェブサイトにすごー。ああ、作ったんだ。ウルトラデラックスじゃなくて、2のオフィシャルウェブサイトがあるんだ。これ名前ボタンを押して本名を呼ばれたら嫌なんだけど。ちっちゃ。ボタンの大きさこだわってますよってね。本当に？
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name
Jim.
But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Do it again じゃないよ。
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
いや、いいけどさ、これどのタイミングでこのボタンを使うのよ。
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much, Jim. I'm putting the gym button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
Too much Jim.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
何言ってんだこの2気にならないこれなんか、あれかなんか、失礼。なんか意味があんのかなこれ。あれ怪しげな。エピローグエピローグは後回しにしよう。あれこの音なんかどっかで聞いたことあるな。この音なんだレッド is New Orange。全く新しいオフィス。目に優しくない。新しくアップデートされた光線追跡表はむしろ同じようですが、広いいい意味で続編。このライティングの仕組みはあんま変わってないってことね。新しい機能、新しいコンテンツ、新しいアイデア。なんだっけ今のてってけてってけなる音。バケツ。ノースクリーンショット。
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
ん誰あれレッドイズニューオレンジはブラックイズニューオレンジのパロディ。ブラックイズニューオレンジって何でしたっけ？ドラマでしたっけ？これ何？誰？あ？Get Well Somebody Happy 12th Birthday Stepniece.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Ah, これスタンリーな。手長くない終わった。あ、風船がこっちの上にも。
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on. めっちゃ広いな、ここ。あ、出た。 You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
できないジャンプが。ちょっと待って、これ、無限の穴、終わらない。ちょっと待って。ちょっと道がもうわかんなくなっちゃった。あ、ここ通って、そっち行ったのか。バケツ行くじゃあ。
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
あ、いた。
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable too.
ちょっとよくわかんないっす。ずーっとよくわかんないっす。持ってっていいんすかこれ。邪魔だな。
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Ah, あ、エピローグって別に隠しじゃないのか。バケツね。バケツを抱くと安心するって。エピローグじゃあ行ってみようかな。
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
ないのね。安心しますか？私に聞いてます私に聞いてますか？セッティングワールドチャンピオン。無限の穴。ここで入手。働くだけ。フリー。新しい簡単実績。フリー実績今すぐ手に入れよう。レバーを引く。実績を受け取る。これだけ。
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
手の込んだことしてるけど。動かしてあげてよ。手に入ったのかな、実績。
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
そっち行ったっけ。
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Eh. ちょっと落ちるの怖いな。こっから出ちゃいそう。お？あ、こっち行けないのか。ね、落ちろって言ってんだろうね。あと他行ってないのは？コレクターズアイテム。
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You
ちっ
simply
ちゃくて見えない。
collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your
近づいてる
unremarkable
これ
life.
私。あ、近づいてる近づいてる。あ、びっくりした。あと5個見つけろって言ってる？コレクトゼムオール。5個
God,
見
it
つけろ
really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
出口閉まってるね。これ見つけないとダメなのか。まあ、ちょっと一旦穴落ちてみるか。他は全部回ったか。 そんな人形なかったよな。よし。無限に落ち続ける穴。行ってみよ
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
う。もう出たいです。ここ。あれ、あんな大きい人形あったっけ？あ、こっち行ってないかも。
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
始まった。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
一緒。一緒。風船なかったよね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Buckets.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
こんなんあったっけ？あ、ニューコンテンツなくなった。もうこれが今ニューコンテンツか。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
戻らず。
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room.
喋った、バケツが。
Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
このまま行ってみよう。あ、ジャンプね。あ、できないっす。
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
すごいな。バケツパターンも取ってんのか、俺。バケツでこのルートを来た場合のパターンも取ってんのか。ナレーション。こっち初めて来るかな。
Now pick up the phone,
said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
あ、これエンディングじゃないんだ。始まってんだ。動ける。家これ。我が家なんででも427って書いてあった ?427B。バケツ。バケツがソファーに座ってる。下十字キー。
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
あ、戻ってきた。あ、バケツ。Why?
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from, me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it. Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
怖っ。この同じ日を何度も僕と繰り返せるよ。
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
家へ仕事へ、家へ帰るために B を押せ。
Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
ベッドルームに。
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
あれなんか変わった。また変わった。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
バケツルート。
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
あ、でもここか。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his
一
left.
緒これ。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
同じかな。
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious
あ、
fact.
なんだあそこ。
He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
あんなとこ行けんのかな。いや、さすがに無理か。
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
一緒だね。
Now pick up the phone.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the
Oh,
bucket
skip
could speak to
that.
him. The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just
もう一度始めるでいいのか。あ、こっちになっちゃうんだ。電話鳴ってるけど。取れない。取れないでいい？これバケツ拾うとバケツルート行っちゃうから。何バケツルートって。置いといて。今の電話気になるな。
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
バケツ持たずに向こうの部屋行くとどうなんだろう。
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
あ、そこ行けるのか。あ、行ける。何ここ。ああ
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley
Ah,
figurines.
嘘。
Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
あんのあるんだったらちょっと揃えたいよな。こっち行けんだ。ちょっと待って。本当は向こうに、さっき電話取った部屋にバケツを持ってかないで行ったらどうなるのかっていうのが気になってたんだけど。また変なとこ来ちゃった。
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path.
あれなんか
It seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off
カセットテープだ。
that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had
いいね、
begun
なんか
so far off the beaten path
音楽みたい。
that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path
いいね。
that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun from so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun.
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
終わっちゃった。まだスタンリーパラブル2だとフィギュアの背後に書いてあった。もしかしてこのゲームはウルトラデラックスじゃなくてもう2なのかもしれない。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone
あ
else
そこから降りれるかな。降りれなさそうだよね。そこにもなんかさ、出口みたいなのがさ、一番下にあるんだよね。
Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her,
来た来
Stanley.
た。
You need to be the one
彼
to
女。
do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
狭。
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
え、バケツじゃなくなっただけか、これ。
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a
ね、
button.
死って言ってた
Now
ね。
he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
少年
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
これは、押さなきゃダメかな。ちょっと待ってみよう。はあ、いや、面白いね。で、面白いけどちょっと疲れるな、なんか。押せってことかな。もうちょっと待ってみる？なんだったら5分ぐらい休憩する？そうしよっか。で、ちょっと待ちつつ、休憩。 いしょ。あ、ボタンが変わったね。ボタン、私ちょっと席外した時にマウスでいじっちゃったから、PC ゲームではよくあることなんだけど、コントローラーで操作してるときは何ボタンを押してくださいみたいなこのアイコンがコントローラーに対応したボタンになって、キーボードマウスで操作してるときは、こういう風にね、キーボードのボタンが表示されるっていうだけですね。多分、だからなんもないのかな。うん。あ、ごめんなさいね。勘違いさせちゃって。うん。なんかこのゲームなら待ってればなんかありそうだけどね。よし。じゃあもう5分ぐらい経ったかな。経ってるね。じゃあ押そうか。
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here,
てかもうあの部屋じゃん。
himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
終わりかな？終わるのかな？終わった。そうか。なるほどね。あれなんかちょっと変わった。また変わった。バケツはある。でも2択か。じゃあちょっと、そうね。最後。
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
バケツ持って、通常のルート行ってみようか。なんか変わるかな。多分変わるんだろうな。うん。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
あれ物置なかったここ。あれまだだっけ？え？完全攻略主義者の本能を信じて？今ここに人形あれ？トイレにあんの？416レッドルームグッドラックヒントかな？ああ、最初から見たい。あ、うん、なんか6つあるね。6つあるから、ヒントが6つ書かれてんだろうな。全部見つけると報酬があります。本当に？あチェックがついてる。広い部屋、たくさんの箱。あったね。階段に関係するもの。赤と青の両方があるところ。暖炉の近く。暖炉あったな。重要人物のプライベートな、だが臭いところ。これトイレだね。階段か。階段もなんとなく、 赤と青両方があるところってドアしかないよな。暖炉、そうです。あ、物置。あれなんかいろいろなくなってる。
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
なんかこの辺もうちょっとなかったっけ？気のせいかな。なんか物がなくなった気もしないでもな
Okay,
い。
I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets
シ
in
ー
the
ルが貼られ
natural
た
order of things.
スタンリーのものだよってことかな。Property on Stanley.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
もういい？もういいかい？
You
3
know
枚
what?
あ
I could take the name calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
?終わり？終わったかね？終わった終わった。階
Coming to
段
a。staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
階段にあるってよ。下かな。まあ、とりあえず。あったあった。
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
あれ、こっち行ってないんだっけ？こっちちょっと後回しにしようかって言ってたっけ？言ってた気がするな。言ってないね、そこね。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
あれ、暖炉のある部屋に。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
ここの暖炉じゃないのかな。あった。
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies.
Figlies?
Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
よし。これ上押したら上行くのかな。
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
こっちも行ってないね。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
バケツパターンもある、やっぱりこれ。すごいな。単純に2倍取ってるってこと？ナレーション。通常とバケツ。
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait.
Huh?
What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
終わった。出れないのか。なんてこった。
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. No, the orders were still missing. For now.
これバケツ、フィギュアだ。フィギュア。フィギュアの話してる。あ、シール貼られたまんまだ。Awaiting input。で、なんだっけ？何番の319だっけ？ヒントを忘れちゃった。バケツエンド、全然違う展開になりましたね。よし、終わりにするか。いや、面白かった。メインメニューどうなってんの？あ、2なんだ。はあ。あ、今もう2になっちゃったんだ。 ま、このゲームらしいっちゃらしいね。ははー。もうじゃあ今私はスタンリーパラブルデラックスエディションじゃなくて、スタンリーパラブル2を本当にやってるんだ。へえ。よし、じゃあ、また明日も同じ時間ぐらいにやりますかね。どうしようかな。攻略サイトとか見ようか。見てもいいな。なんか、見ても楽しめそうだね、これね。こんなパターンあったのか、みたいなね。はい。では。終わりにしましょう。いや、面白かったし、他のエンディングも見てみたいね。まあ、エンディングなのか、他のパターンなのか。トゥルーエンドね、あんのかな。あと、あれね。爆発を避けるための方法を知りたいですね。あの辺さっぱりわかんなかったからな。はい。では、3時間半ほどお付き合いいただきましてありがとうございました。なんかね、オリジナル版遊んだ方もなんか楽しんでいただけてるみたいで。まあ、主にこの2の部分かな。よかったと思います。では、お時間です。おやすみなさーい。